I mean, I've had guns pulled on me. I've had, I've had like knives pulled at me, for coming into the house. I mean, it's just real estate is a show in itself on a daily basis. I mean, the people you interact with, and the richer they are, the crazier it is. Can I say that?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's up to you.
Welcome to the Opposite Ends Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to Opposite Ends. Today we have a very special guest with us, Rick Dergan.
Yeah, Rick Dergan is a real estate aficionado with about 30 plus years of experience. He's the owner of Aria Properties, and we're really grateful to have him on. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is amazing.
I just want to follow up on that 30 years. I started when I was 15 in real estate, so that's why.
See, not all of us can start when we're 15.
So Rick, where did you grow up and how did you get your start in real estate?
I grew up in the Valley, believe it or not.
All right.
And my first home I purchased when I was 21 years old. It was in Hancock Park, and I did it with a partner. Didn't have a whole bunch of money, but we figured out a way to buy our first home. And the whole experience of real estate made me like, I want to do this. And so at 21, I became a real estate agent, and my first listing was my home that I put back on the market and sold it. So I bought it for $180,000. We fixed it up. 9 months later, we sold it for $350,000.
How old were you when you first bought it?
21.
21.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's when I got my license. So that was my first listing, and just kept door knocking. I come from a very poor family, so I didn't have a whole bunch of money. And kind of my family didn't like show us anything like, here's how you go do it or anything. I just kind of street smart. I knew that you had to knock on doors and ask people if they wanted to sell their homes. So that's what I did. And was able to launch my career that way. Didn't know Hancock Park. Didn't even know the streets in Hancock Park because I was from the Valley. And then by the time I was 24, I was the manager of the office. And then went to Beverly Hills. Got recruited to Fred Sands Beverly Hills. Became the number one office for Fred Sands. And did that for about 5 years. And then after that, went to be the regional for RE/MAX. And all this whole time, I was an employee, which was great. I was still worked off bonuses and all that, but it was an employee. And I kept thinking, I know I can do better if I just had my own real estate company. And one day, I found an amazing real estate company that was launching in L.A., and I went to become the manager of that office. And within a year, I was opening my first office on Sunset, 8560 Sunset. So I was kind of the pioneer for can I say Keller Williams?
Yeah.
For Keller Williams in LA. And then really felt like that was kind of my turning point in my life where I was owning a business. I had to know financials, did all that. But I don't know if you want me to continue.
Yeah, keep going.
So the interesting thing was, I was telling Joseph on the way here, is when I was trying to launch that office, it required $300,000. And I didn't have $300,000. And the regional owner said, don't worry about the money. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? I mean, how am I coming up with the money? He goes, the money will show up. So my point to telling this story is, a lot of us think that we need the money to launch our businesses, and you really don't. You just have to be passionate about what you're doing and know what you're doing and have people believe in the dream.
Okay. So speaking of dreams, so let's go back to the beginning. So you mentioned that you started working at 15.
Yeah.
But what were you doing at 15?
I was joking.
You were joking? Oh, okay. Okay. But so 20.
I just didn't want everybody to figure out the age.
So what was it that made you think, oh, maybe I should do real estate?
Since I was young, I found my aunt her first house, and I was just riding my bike, and I found it. And I'm like, this is your house. I know it is your house. And sure enough, she bought that house. And then I was in the transaction with the realtor, and I thought, wow, this is fun, right? And that was when I was about 13, 14 years old.
Right. And so when you sold your property, that's when you said that this
is good.
I guess you fell in love with the process, right?
I fell in love with the process, and I saw what they were delivering, and I knew that I could deliver better.
Right.
That typical real estate agent. And back then it was dinosaur years. We didn't have computers. Right. We didn't have phones, cell phones. Yeah. So it was a different environment. So it was really hardcore learning. There was no training, nothing.
So how did you expand since when you started your firm? Was it still door to door, or what was?
Well, when I started, a couple things. I started as a salesperson when I was 21.
Okay.
And then became manager at 24.
Right.
And then I was an employee in management.
Right.
But when I launched Keller Williams, what I did was I sold the dream of, this is a new franchise coming to the area. This is what it's all about. It's a profit-sharing company. And I sold everyone the dream. I didn't even have a location.
Uh-huh.
And I collected about 60 agents that signed on the dotted line that they would join with me. And then people started investing. So I had 5 investors at that point that I got the $300,000. But I started with $0.
So how did you sell that dream? What did it take to make that a reality for it's not tangible, so
right, it's not tangible at all.
So how did you do that? What did you have to say?
I had to really believe in what I was selling. I believed in the product, and Keller Williams was a product.
Okay.
It was a profit sharing model. It was a agent driven company, which we've never had before. So I had to really believe in it. So I got a lot of training in like 6 months about the whole product. And that's what I was selling, was the product and myself, of course, because I had been in the business already for 10, 15 years. But I still needed the money. So even though I collected those 60 agents, I then had to sell the dream to the investors of saying, look, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm going to do, and this is where we can make money.
So throughout your career, what ended up being the main turning point for you that made you say, this is what I want to do, I love this, but also what was the point where you said, I'm succeeding at what I want to do?
I always felt that I was succeeding, but I never knew what succeeding at a high level was until I had my own business. And I think, you can become an employee and succeed at a very high level and be successful. But until you actually own your own business and you're doing it, it's all based on you and what you can deliver. That's really when you start to feel that that's your turning point of making it. And I'll be honest with you, as I was sharing with you, I failed several times, even during these past 30 years. And there's a book called Failing Forward, right? You got to fail to succeed. So it's not about how you fail, it's how you get up and do it again.
So I have a question from one entrepreneur to another.
Yeah.
When I started my company, the first 6 to 8 months was I started questioning myself as like, is this going to even happen?
Right.
Should I go work for someone else?
Yeah.
Did you have those moments
Had those
where you were
moments.
like, you already had a successful career as an employee and you started your own company?
Yeah.
So did you ever think that, okay, should I just go back and what am I doing? Is this even going to work?
The whole time. And I was going against the grain because on Sunset, all these real estate companies were already in existence. And this was a new company. It was known for it's a pyramid scheme.
Mm-hmm.
So I had all these obstacles to conquer. But the whole time I kept thinking, well, I could just drop all this. But in my gut, I knew that being an employee was no longer an option. And I think also when you think about anything you're going to do, if you look at it as failure is not an option, you're going to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that's the bottom line.
So what ended up being the hardest part of the process of well, okay, sorry, backing up. So when did you start Aria Properties?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So when I had 4 offices, 2,000 agents, and I found what we call leadership and finding talent. So one thing that you have to remember in a business is the only way you have a business is if you can step away and the business still makes you money. That's a real business.
Delegation, right?
Yes, and proper delegation. So if you have to go in to do the work every day for you to make the money, then you don't have a real business. You have a job. Okay? When you can find leadership that can replace you and do it at a better and higher level than you, now you have something. So I was able to find this amazing kid. His name is Harma, and he started to coach with me and started to kind of follow me and wanted to go into management. So he ran all my 3 offices, and then all I had was Hollywood Hills, and that was making money. Didn't have to do anything there. So I said to him, I retired for a year, vacations, had a great time, got bored, really bored. And I came back. I said, Harma, I'm really bored. What do I do? And he goes, why don't you go back to sales? I'm like, well, I haven't sold in 18 years. Where do I start? He goes, where do you live? I'm like, in the marina. He's like, great, that's where you start. I'm like, okay. So I started this company called Aria Properties. I didn't know if it was going to succeed or not, but yeah, it's doing great now.
What was the idea behind it? So you went from getting your license to becoming a regional manager at different companies. Then you became the starting factor for the Keller Williams here in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Which led to you finding employees to kind of take the stress off of you.
Yeah.
You got bored, basically retired.
Right.
You got bored of that,
Yeah.
came back, started Aria Properties. Yeah. But what made you, so what was the goal now? Because now, of course, you don't want to be bored.
No.
And, I, based on, talking to quite a few entrepreneurs and just people in general that are well along in their career, retirement isn't an option.
No. I'm retired because I'm doing what I love doing every day. So
right.
That's for me. And I travel once a month. So I'm happy. It's, I think that, I'm sorry, what was your question?
Well, the question was, so what's now the goal for Aria?
So in my 30 years of watching all these agents perform and top agents, I had the top of the top, I saw the good and all the bad, what they delivered. So I really had a life experience of what's a good salesperson do and what's a bad salesperson do. And I thought I can do that better. So my commitment is always with Aria, and that's kind of our value proposition, is that customers come first and we deliver customer service. And that's really, really important to me. And I think that's something that most agents try to deliver, but they don't deliver at a high level. And I think right now we're going through a very big market shift in where technology is stepping into our real estate industry. Once again, very excited because a lot of agents don't have what it takes to go into the technology that's coming our way. And I'm ready for it, and I'm ready to take it to the next level. So
an agent. So right now with this whole situation, I don't want to say the word. I don't think I can say the word. But anyways, this whole situation of us being locked down and all that, and it's this new world that's been created. There's been, like you said, a huge shift in how real estate is playing out and how people are dealing with real estate and selling, buying. So what's one thing that new realtors can take away from this? Because I know firsthand, I mean, I became an agent, got my license within this whole situation, and I know so many people that during lockdown they were like, "Well, what do I do with my time? Let me get my my real estate license." But then they don't realize how much time and effort it actually takes. So what's something, a tip or something that you would tell a new agent that this is really for them? They're not just one of the randoms that just got their license just to have it. What would you tell one of them?
Well, it's not only to the brand new agents, it's to the experienced agents, and that is you have to learn how to pivot. So during this whole situation that we've had, a lot of agents ran home and hid under the covers, right? Some agents are producing at a very high level, new agents even, and experienced agents, but a very small portion. Real estate is like any other business. When it changes, you've got to be able to pivot. If you don't pivot, you will go out of business. We don't have Blockbuster Video anymore, right? Because they didn't pivot. Mm-hmm. So taxi drivers didn't pivot, right? They're now pivoted, but it was too late. So I think for any business owner, for any business person, is learn how to pivot and always be learning based and find out what others are doing and be in the forefront of that.
So I'm sure a lot of aspiring real estate agents would be watching this, and like, what's the one advice you give to them that, how does, you being a stalwart in this industry, how does one get their start in this industry? And like, especially after this whole situation that we've had in the last 2 years, it's affected the industry. How does one get started?
Yeah. How does one get started? What I would honestly, the real estate has changed so much that the single agent is no longer a valuable product. Mm-hmm. You have to be part of a team because the resources that a team delivers is what the consumer wants today. And that single agent can't afford it and doesn't have the manpower to do it. So what I would say is get as much training as you can and join a team.
What's the hardest struggle that you would say for these new agents, and even for yourself? What seems to be the biggest struggle right now in this career path?
I think it's just, as a new agent, I think it's where do you get the business? Like when I started, when I was 21, I didn't know anybody. None of my friends could afford to buy a home or sell a home. They didn't have a home. So I think that's just like, where do you start? I think that's the biggest challenge, and that's why I say join a team, because they have the resources, they have the open house, they have all that. And I think in real estate, in any business, not only real estate, you have challenges every day. So that's why you have to really be passionate about what you're doing, because if you're not, you're going to give up. And we have this thing called E to P at Keller Williams, from entrepreneurial to purposeful. So most people are entrepreneurs, and then they hit a ceiling, and they don't know how to break through. Once you break through, then you're being purposeful. And that's, I think, the challenge is like when we had this thing that just happened with us these past 2 years, the entrepreneurs did not become purposeful. They didn't know how to pivot. They didn't know what to do. They kind of became paralyzed. And I think in all businesses, would you agree?
Mm-hmm. 100%.
It's like some people succeeded at a very high level with this, and some people did not. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah.
How has media, in the last couple of years, we've seen YouTube play a huge part in real estate. The lives of these agents, they're very much out there. And even, the Netflix show about the group on Sunset.
Yeah.
How has that impacted this industry? Because it's, these companies are becoming household names now all over the world. I mean, that show's huge where I'm from in New Delhi, India, right?
Yeah.
So like, 10 years back, no one would ever have heard of that company. And like, now because of media, how is that affecting? I'm just super interested to know that.
So it's great that you asked that question. I think real estate shows are good for entertainment, but it's not reality.
Right.
And so I think I have to ask you.
Uh-huh.
So if you're going to go buy a home or sell your home, would you use one of those television people?
I I don't think so, because it kind of loses the I would say seriousness of
That's correct.
the whole process. But do you think that has brought a new revenue stream for these companies, that they're
Yes, absolutely.
focusing more on this
Right.
aspect than their real
So, I had the Shaws of Sunset
Right.
on my office when I had the Hollywood Hills
Right.
office. Shaws of Sunset is a show.
right?
And they probably made more money on the show than they did in real
Yeah.
estate.
Yeah, and
That's all I can say.
and that I think is so cool, right? Like they're focusing more on this than what they really should be doing.
Right, right. And it's just because they get success from that. And so they do get some business. But going on to media, I think your point, I don't know if you were going to go there, but you have to be on social media constantly. Like you have to have a social media director. You have to be on TikTok. You have to have YouTube. You have to have it all today as a real estate agent. If you're not, you can become obsolete.
Yeah, I feel like that's with almost any business.
Correct.
You really need to be relevant, kind of in people's faces 24/7.
Yeah.
And I mean, every realtor is their own business. So, I mean, you join a team and it kind of mitigates that a little bit. But going back to the shows, that's an interesting point that I feel like a lot of people get their licenses and try to become realtors so that they can also have a show like that.
Right.
So I mean, I wonder if that damages the image. Do you think that damages the image of the realtor? Because I feel like in general, people see real estate agents just as salesmen.
Right.
They're, a lot of times looked at as, the con artist.
Right.
They're just the guy trying to get the quick buck. So how do you think that has affected the way realtors are seen, and how does like a fellow realtor kind of keep that image away from them?
Well, you can't keep it away because it's on TV, it's on streaming, it's everywhere. So that is the image, but I think it changes the appearance of what a real agent does. It's just like when you see Law and Order and you talk to a cop, that's not really how they do it, right? Same kind of thing.
I think we saw it with Suits, right? When everyone was watching Suits, people just
Exactly.
wanted to become a lawyer.
A lawyer, right? Because it seems so much
I don't
fun.
think that's how it is,
No.
Yeah, Grey's Anatomy. Everyone wanted
Right.
to be
I
a
guess
nurse
that's
or a doctor.
I guess that's the power of media. We
Yeah.
saw the Netflix show about chess, which was
Oh yeah. Queen's Gambit.
and then
Yeah.
sales of chessboards boomed all over the world. So I guess that's the power of
Yeah.
media.
I think there's the good and there's the negative, and I've been approached to do a show, and Joseph, you played a little part in it. It's really about the day to day of what I do to get business, and but I'm very select on who I will put my show on if they take me, because certain channels I'm not willing to go that, because
Right.
of reputation. Yeah, I think it does affect your reputation a little bit
And
because you have to make it entertaining.
That's true.
They have to
Exactly.
make it fun.
Regardless,
They
it
have
has
to have
be-
drama. I mean, real estate, there's drama, like you heard it on the way here. There's drama every day. I mean, someone once said you should just have a camera following you all day. It would be hilarious.
drama sells, huh?
Yeah, drama sells.
Private phone calls.
Yeah, private.
What's the hardest thing about being? I mean, I don't. Would you consider yourself an agent anymore, or so? What's the hardest thing about being an agent? How is that changed?
Rejection.
Rejection?
Rejection. Yeah, it's like when you get the call that they've decided to go with another party, or their mother's brother's son
Right.
is an agent and they want to go with them, and you've sold them on the value of what you can do, and you know that if they went with you, you could get them more money. So it's kind of it's hard.
I guess when someone's selling the house, I guess it's a very personal process. So, like, do you think, like, and especially with like really expensive houses, do they tend to go with someone they know? or do they just
Referrals, mostly by
referrals?
referrals. Yeah, most of my business today comes from my past clients and also from friends. And
Right.
that's even though I do a lot of marketing, but if I were to look at all my business, it's mostly referrals on the higher end. It's just because people work off of like, who did you use? You know, why would you use him? What was good about him? And so, yeah,
Yeah,
great questions, you guys.
I think I mean, again, I just got my license about basically a year ago,
Yeah, almost a year. Yeah.
Or well, I've been working in real estate for about 2 years, a little over 2 years now, and I feel like the hardest part for me, because the rejection, you kind of get over it, but I think the thing is like the keep going.
Yeah.
How do you keep
going?
Oh my gosh. And then like where you get to a point where you feel like you're not really moving anywhere, you're not getting any traction.
Yeah.
Like what has been the main thing? Like how do you get your mind over that?
Yeah. It's hard to get up in the morning. And when you're like, you've been rejected 3 times and you're like, wow,
But
okay.
I think something that helped me was that when you taste your first, I would say, success, and then you just want to do more, and you want to better that sale, or
Yeah, but before the success, I mean you have 100 no's before you have one yes, right? That's so when you get to like that 55th no before that one the 100th.
I guess you
time.
never know how far you are.
That's what I mean.
From
You
your
don't
yes.
you don't know, right?
So do you know that most people quit right before they get the yes?
Right.
Any business.
Right, 100%.
You know, right?
Yeah.
So when you're almost there, that's where most people give up. And so if you just keep plowing through, eventually you're going to get to a yes, but you don't know if it's going to be the 150th call or the 150th person or the first person. You just don't know. But your question is very relevant. It's a hard thing to constantly, but if you believe in yourself and you believe in what you're doing and your value proposition, eventually you're going to succeed. It's just, wow, it's taken me a little bit longer than I wanted it to. But yeah.
From an investment point of view, I would say real estate would be one of the best and safest investments. But now with the world changing and cryptocurrency coming into play, and everyone has access to the stock market like they did not. I think it's kind of become a joke with like companies like Robinhood and all. Like anyone can just log on and become a trader. Which was not that easy. I would say 10 years back you had to call a Charles Schwab, or you had to figure how to do that. Do you think how is the investment market for real estate right now, and are young successful people still investing in real estate, or are they keeping away and putting all their money in other things like crypto?
Great question. The answer, first part is yes, it's always a good time to invest in real estate. Why? If you look at what real estate has done in since I've been in 30 years, I wish I bought every single home I've ever entered 30 years ago, because I don't know.
Right.
But if you even look at the worst real estate crash we ever had in history, which was 2008, 2009, and you went back 10 years and looked at the home prices, those home prices are still higher in 08 and 09 during the crash. So it's always a good time to invest. It just depends on, just like the stock market, are you going to do a short-term investment or a long-term? So right now, the way the market is, it's so crazy that if you're going to buy today and you're going to sell in 3 years, I'd hold off. If you're going to hold for 5 to 7 years, you have no problem.
And I guess that's the problem today, because everyone is used to instant gratification, especially with crypto, and I think people are forgetting how hard it actually is to what's the average stock market return? 10% on the S&P 500, maybe 8%. Now if someone gets 50% in like a month, they're like, I'm doing something wrong. And and I think that's
there's a lot of new stuff that you can make quick money, but as quickly as you make it, remember, the harder it takes to get it, the more solid it is, and the quicker it is, the faster you can fall.
And how do you think the market is gonna shape up now for the next 10 years? Especially in Los Angeles. What do you think? Like, does the market look good for the next, coming
Yeah, I mean,
future?
it's always going to be good. It depends when you have to sell. But I want to go back to one of your questions. You said, are the younger people buying? Are they investing in
Right.
crypto? So I have a sale that's happening right now, and most of his money he's made through crypto
Crypto.
and a couple other side things. And he's 29 years old, and he's buying a $2.5 million home.
Wow.
Okay. So he's smart
Yeah.
because his mother's in real estate. Okay. So, and she, he's paying high rent. So, like Joseph came back the other day and he's like, I no longer want to be a renter. So I think the mindset for the younger generation is I need something solid also, even though we can make money on all this other stuff.
Yeah, it's become quite a shift, I've noticed, because the millennial thinking and the millennial trend has always been, I want to rent because I don't know if I'm going to stay here for very long.
Mm-hmm.
I want to travel. I want to do this. I want to do that. Or like,
Do you
I don't
feel
know
it's changed?
I totally feel that it's changed. I feel like I don't even know if I'm like the weird 1-2 year gap between millennial and what's the next one? Gen Z?
Gen Z.
Is that what it is? I'm like that weird like 2-year gap. I'm born 1997, just for anyone that's wondering. October 2nd, that's my birthday. You can send all gifts to.
Mine's October 3rd, not same year though.
Yeah, so I mean I know for myself and a lot of people younger than me, a big goal is to own real estate.
Yeah.
And whatever the cost is, whatever the whatever it's going to take, everyone that I've been around and people younger than me have always thought about, I want to own a duplex. I want to own multifamily properties, or I want to own, multiple houses over in, and people are coming up with crazy strategies to do it. Like, I'm going to buy X amount of properties over in Illinois in this like ghetto area. So, it's cheap, and then it's, different government funding, however, whatever strategy, but they're doing it.
They want to own something.
Yeah. But then I see guys, in between their 30s and 40s, and they're still renting, right?
Yeah.
So it's like a quite the switch of mentality.
Yeah. I would agree. I think we're seeing a lot more younger people looking for a solid investment, even though they have the opportunity to make a quick buck.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they've all realized now that, and I think your point is 100% on. Before it was like, oh, I want to rent, I want to be free, I don't want to have a commitment. We're not seeing that today. We're seeing a lot of the younger generation wanting to buy their first home, have ownership. It's the most solid investment. It's always been.
And I guess after this whole situation, people have realized the importance of, having a solid home.
Yeah, it
'Cause
really is.
They've had to spend so much time in it. At least, I would say in India, I don't know if you're well aware of the property market there, but like something that's really boomed is big farmhouses, because people have had to spend so much time locked down that I think the demand for them has gone up, and therefore the prices are going up rapidly.
Yeah.
So I guess that's this whole situation is, I would say, given had a positive impact on the market.
Going back to the social media, I think that's the main factor of why that mentality has switched, because now there's so much information being processed at the same time that I've seen so many, especially on my TikTok, on my For You page, and on Instagram, you have all these different influencer. I guess they're influencers. Yeah, they have like millions of followers now, but they're just these random guys that are like, I'm gonna teach you how to buy a house in 30 days and without your own money. Yeah. You can do it with other people's money, and you can make all the profit.
Quick money, profit.
And it's like what the hell? Like I kind of want to know.
But let me ask you a question. Do you think, and this may be just like a light bulb went off, do you think maybe The younger generation's all looking to buy now because of the TikToks, and they're seeing their friends buying their first home. Do you think because of social media that's triggered other people to say, wait a minute, I want a home?
Oh yeah, well everything is kind of. I've been noticing that the market is driven through FOMO, fear of missing out. FOMO is the driving factor. You know, people are getting into NFTs, people are getting into crypto because they see all these random guys that are making a lot of money, and they're like, man, I don't want to miss out on this opportunity. And now people are buying all these random NFTs, and you know they're losing a bunch of money.
Are you into NFTs and crypto?
No,
Not at all.
no.
So you're
Nothing vulnerable. No.
You're back in the
We got to
traditional-
set up Aria Properties in the Metaverse.
Yes.
That's
that's
the next
definitely,
office.
Yes, that is definitely.
guess-
They were talking about it today. It's insane.
I guess you were talking about pivoting, and moving with the times.
Yeah.
Do you think that now with this whole, buzzword metaverse coming into play, do you think now is the time to pivot again, or
We're going to keep pivoting. I think in all our businesses.
Right.
So I think that technology, every person has to kind of absorb it and pivot with it. Some people resist it. And I think the people that are going to resist it the most are the ones that are going to be in trouble. That's not going to be reality. Yes, it is. They were talking about it today. It's like within 10 years, Metaverse will be where we all kind of interact, which is kind of weird.
it's kind of scary to think so?
It's scary because that's not what we grew up with, right? But the younger generation before us, they're growing up with that.
Yeah, they aren't growing up with the stock market. They're growing up with the cryptocurrency, market. They're growing up with NFTs and not physical art.
They're growing up with mass. Can I say that?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
So, how have companies like Zillow, is it
Zillow and Redfin.
How have they affected the market? They've been there for a while now, but
They've been there for a while. They started like Redfin and Zillow are companies that are technology based. The challenges in real estate is the consumer still wants that interface with that person.
they want physical touch.
You don't want just anyone walking into your $5 million home.
Right.
You want to know that they've been vetted and doing all that. So I think those companies work for the lower end marketplace. But what they have is they have the consumer interface. So the agent population today needs to get it into a consumer interface, or they will be what? They will be the taxi drivers. And that's what I've been trying to preach it to the agents today to like wake up, get into technology like CRM, right?
Yep.
We have a CRM, we have a smart plan, we have all of that going out, because if you're not doing all that, the Zillows and Redfins eventually will take over.
Right.
And it's not that they won't, they'll have a place in the marketplace, but you can also. But yes, technology is everything right now. And that's what Aria Properties is focused on, is really thinking about what the future is. I've hired a consultant just to look at all the products that are available so I can have a consumer interfacing program.
Yeah, that leads to my last question is what's next for you? What's next for you? What's next for Aria? What's the plan now?
Are we going to see you in the metaverse?
You will see me in the metaverse, believe it or not. I want to make sure I absorb as much of the new technology as possible. I know we'll be one of the top companies out there, Aria Properties, in the technology interface with the consumer in the future. And then what's my future? I'm basically headed down south. I'm going to go all the way to San Diego and expand Aria Properties. So we'll be all coastal all the way down to San Diego. So
West
that's
Coast.
the
Very
West
nice.
Coast. And maybe other places like Puerto Vallarta. But yeah.
Oh, you like that place?
Yeah, it's a great place. Yes.
I have one last question.
Yeah.
What's been the craziest experience of selling a house? I'm sure there's been
Oh.
that one sale that you were like,
Every deal is crazy. And when you think that you have an easy deal, something happens for it to go crazy. It's either the buyer, the seller, the lender, somebody. Like today we had 3 crazy situations, but I don't know that there's like one thing that really stands out. I mean, I've had guns pulled on me. I've had I've had like knives pulled at me, you know, for coming into the house. I mean, it's just real estate is a show in itself on a daily basis. I mean, the people you interact with, and the richer they are, the crazier it is. Can I say that?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's up to you.
They're like, oh, I'm not listing with him. He called me crazy. No, I'm just saying there's just so much more,
Right.
you know, to do on the higher end real estate, and people are dealing with a lot of problems. And
What's the most expensive house you've ever sold?
most expensive home that we've sold so far year to date is $9 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was in the Los Angeles area?
Yes, that Los Angeles area. Yeah. We're shooting for a 25 right now, so
Good luck.
yeah,
That'd be a good one.
that would be a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well,
Hopefully, I answered all you guys'
I
questions.
think
and,
that was
yeah, that was great. Yeah, thank you so much for
pleasure.
coming on. We really appreciate
Thank
you
you
sharing
for-
your time with us and sharing your knowledge and experience. So again, this is Rick Dergan, owner of Aria Properties, real estate aficionado. I like saying that word.
I know. I see
but
that.
well, yeah.
Yeah, I guess
If you
we-
have any real estate questions, real estate needs, please reach out to Rick
Or Joseph.
or myself.
Yeah.
We're both at Aria Properties.
There
so,
you go. There you go.
Didn't want to self-advertise, but I'll do it anyways.
I did it for you,
Yeah,
Joseph.
there we
Yeah.
go. Thank you. All right. Well, thanks a lot.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.